How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. Today we got a special show for you guys. As you know, Selection Sunday was this weekend, and now we're going to have our own little Selection Sunday March Madness special. I'm your host, Tristan Harlan, alongside your other host, Cooper Melder. Cooper, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We got a wonderful episode coming up.
As you can see on the table, we got two new guests for today's show. We got Easton John and Gavin Grubbs. Guys, how are you doing today? You excited for the bracket today's show?
Oh yeah, we're doing great.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be one of the most fun March Madness I think ever. That's what I'm thinking.
It is wide open this year.
Oh yeah, it is. It most definitely is.
Yeah, so before we get started with the whole bracket and everything, we want to go ahead and congratulate Coach Rogers on officially being named the Arkansas State head coach here for the Lady Red Wolves. Cooper, I know that's something we've been talking about a lot this season, and I'm happy that it was finally announced.
I mean, it was bound to happen sooner or later. She was the right fit from the beginning. You know, the players really draw to her really well. They really kind of work together as a whole team around her, so it's good to have her as a head coach.
Yeah, Cooper, but you know, before we really get started with the festivities, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable on ASU-TV.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures. No matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
And welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. And today we got a special episode. Selection Sunday was yesterday. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at the West region here in the bracket. You have good games. You have Boise State versus Memphis, Arkansas versus Vermont. They're calling Vermont with the upset. Alabama is either going to play Rutgers, Notre Dame, and then another good game is Michigan State versus Davidson. But before we get into that, we're going to go to Gavin here on the virtual bracket and get his picks.
All right, thank you. And first up out of this bracket, we have Gonzaga and Georgia State. Georgia State's a Sun Belt team, won the Sun Belt championship. Interesting team, a lot of talent at the guard position, especially Corey Allen, who had a great Sun Belt tournament. But I do not think they're going to be enough to get the second ever 16-1 upset. I have the Zags in that game. Next up, we have Boise State and Memphis, the Mountain West champions against the American Athletic Conference runner-ups. I think the Memphis Tigers had a little bit tougher of a schedule. They're going to be a little bit more ready for this game. I have the Tigers winning this. Connecticut and New Mexico State. These are probably the two teams out of this side of the bracket that I know the least about, but tradition tells me that UConn is going to be able to come out of this game with a win. Next up, Arkansas and Vermont. I think Arkansas has been a very talented team all season, especially late in the season. They really turned it up with their defense and athletic play. I think they're just going to be too much for Vermont to handle in the first round of the tournament. Then, this is where it gets interesting. Alabama plays the winner of the Rutgers-Notre Dame play-in game. I think Rutgers is going to come out with the win there. They've had a lot more competition and a lot more testing this season than Notre Dame. I think they're going to win that game, and then I think they're going to get the upset in the first round over Alabama. I think Texas Tech rolls through Montana State. And the most interesting game of the first round in the West, in my opinion, is Michigan State and Davidson. Davidson lost their conference championship by just 2 points to Richmond the other day, but I do think Davidson is going to be ready to play, and they're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder and upset the Michigan State Spartans. And then lastly, I think Duke gets a huge win over Cal State Fullerton. It's Coach K's last year. They won the ACC, or they lost in the ACC championship, won the ACC regular season. A great team with Duke. All right, now to the second round. I think Gonzaga stomps out Memphis' momentum. They're going to have rolling. I just think they're going to be too much size in the post. Connecticut and Arkansas. I think Arkansas is going to be a little too athletic and a little too fast on defense for Connecticut. Texas Tech is easily going to win this game. I think they're one of the most talented teams and maybe the most underrated team in the tournament. Davidson and Duke, two schools out of North Carolina, playing each other in South Carolina. It's going to be a great game. I think Duke is going to be ready to win that one. Gonzaga and Arkansas. Everybody's been high on Gonzaga all year long. Chet Holmgren and Drew Timme in the post are amazing. But every March, it seems like Gonzaga just can't put it together when it matters. I think Arkansas is going to come in with an upset in that game. And then Texas Tech and Duke, another upset I'm calling for. It might not be as much of an upset. It's a 2-3 game. I got the Red Raiders winning. And then the West Division Finals, Arkansas and Texas Tech, with a spot on the line to go to the Final Four. If you remember last year's tournament, Arkansas beat Oral Roberts in the Sweet 16 in a close game. Kevin O'Banner from that Oral Roberts team is a Texas Tech Red Raider this year. I think he gets his revenge on the Arkansas Razorbacks and puts the Texas Tech Red Raiders into the Final Four.
All right, thank you, Gavin. Those are good picks. Now, one thing I really do not agree with, I feel like when Arkansas does end up going to play Gonzaga, I feel like Gonzaga just has too much size in the post for Arkansas. Arkansas, they really only have Jalen Williams. But besides that, that's the only big man they have. So I like your bracket, but I just think Gonzaga is going to win that one.
Another thing to kind of take up on is Arkansas, whenever J.D. Notae gets in foul trouble, it seems like Arkansas just falls apart, you know. Whenever you saw it against Texas A&M. In the first half, J.D. Notae had 3 fouls off the bat, and Arkansas just couldn't put it together and work their way back and to win that game. So it's a risky pick, Gavin. I love it. You know, it's March Madness. Anything could happen. You should see my bracket. So
nobody wins on playing it safe.
Exactly. So I like the pick, but Gonzaga is just too good of a team, I feel like.
No, you see, I do want to point out one thing. You said that Davidson was going to upset Michigan State, if I do remember correctly. And the problem with that is that there's no Steph Curry on this Davidson team. There's no way Davidson upsets Michigan State this early.
Yeah.
The first round, the round of 64, there's not really a lot of upsets in it unless you're just that lucky. So with that being said, with all due respect, there is no way that Davidson is going to upset them and then go on to face Duke. And then Duke, they're probably going to go the whole way in that region because Duke, not to mention, they lost their final game with Coach K at home to get against North Carolina, and now they're on a vengeance tear. They're trying to get Coach K his last ring before he retires. So that, in my opinion, is the sole reason why Duke is going to win that region.
Yeah, another thing I like to say, though, I want to back up Gavin here. Duke is just – I'm backing you up. That's what I'm saying. So Duke is – I know they want to get Coach K their last win and all that. But time and time again, the Duke scenario pops into your head where they lose to a 15 seed and look who they're playing, you know. But I get it. Like Duke, they want to give Coach K his last win. But I just think whenever they get to Gonzaga, it's just going to it's gonna fall apart. But I really want to see Coach K get his last win as a national championship, but I just don't see it. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Duke, they're going to be a team. They're going to be the team to beat. I know they're not the 1 seed, but they're going to be the team to beat, in my opinion, in the West region. And that's really all I have to say about Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just like he was saying with the Rutgers Notre Dame playing game, the winner faces Alabama. Honestly, you know, I know you said playing it safe never gets you anywhere, but you just got to look at the logistics in it. Bama has had a better year. Sure, they lost a couple games in the SEC that they shouldn't have lost, but really, it's just like in college football. You don't bet against Bama. So for that reason, just once again, I got to disagree again and see Bama going on to face Texas Tech. But, you know, just like when we saw Arkansas State play Texas Tech, Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, North Chad O'Meara, he couldn't stop Texas Tech, and I don't think Alabama's going to be able to stop Texas Tech neither.
Now, I see Alabama as the flip side, you know, because Alabama is supposed to be the sharpshooting team this year, and they really haven't shown that a little bit. They've shown it just a little bit, but it's just like it's not fully there as like last year. They were the sharpshooting team that could never miss. I actually see Rutgers or Notre Dame beating Alabama. Just because, can Alabama show up in the tournament? Yeah, but from past games, they really haven't been the sharpshooting team. But yeah, this is what I have. I have Rutgers or Notre Dame beating Alabama in the first round. So that's what I got up.
Who do you have winning the Rutgers Notre Dame?
The same thing.
Oh, I feel like Rutgers is the really more talented team than Notre Dame. They play with a little bit more of a fast pace than Notre Dame. You know, they actually really want to. They have the drive of wanting to get every single offensive board there is, and it's crazy to see. I watched them during their conference tournament, and they really were just like go, 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 you know? So that's what I like Rutgers, but once they get to, Texas Tech, man, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, Texas Tech, they've been a great team all year, and, you know, another game that Michigan State versus Davidson, I'm with Tristan on that one. I do personally have Michigan State taking that. I just feel like he was saying, the Curry magic's over for them. That's all they really can talk about is him. But Michigan State, they have the history of being the best team in the tournament. They have the history of winning games in the tournament. So I'm going to take history on this one and just Michigan State.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Cooper. And something that I forgot to mention, too, is that really the only game in this region that is worth even taking a second look at is that Boise State-Memphis team. You got to look at the Memphis Tigers. Memphis, ever since Penny Hardaway went on that controversial tear, they've almost been undefeated with, you know, one of the only losses coming to Houston in the American Athletic Conference Championship. So that's why, honestly, looking at this, Memphis is going to be not necessarily a dark horse, so to say, but they're going to be a team that you don't want a second look come that next round game against Gonzaga.
Oh, yeah. Gonzaga really just – and Gavin said it's like they haven't been that team yet. You know, he has them losing to Arkansas. Hell, because I like it. I like Memphis as a dark horse. I like that, Tristan.
Well, the only problem I have with Memphis, I like them, but for me, it's just so hard to put them into the next round, having to play Gonzaga, and they're a great team. They're a 1 seed for a reason. Yes, they may be overrated in the easiest conference you could think of, but they are a 1 seed for a reason, and they do get the recruits.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, Gonzaga is going to beat Memphis in that next game because Memphis, you know, arguably they've been inconsistent all year long. You know, they went on a losing streak. Penny Hardaway has this controversial moment during that interview, and they go on a tear. So, you know, like I said, Memphis, they're inconsistent, but they have a chance to make some noise if they play the brand of basketball they've been playing up until the American Athletic Conference Championship.
I mean, they got on a hot streak. I mean, we saw them beat Houston, was it twice this year so far? So they have the will and the way of beating the top-ranked teams. So, but that's all for this first segment. And if you want to do some pick, go to ESPN Pick'em, and you can join our group, Red Wolf Roundtable. You can get on there, make your bracket, try to beat us for. Will you? Probably not. We're the experts, obviously, but that's all we have for this segment. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable on ASU-TV.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort.
to get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
Actor.
it's time we take a step forward
it's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
and discover
How accepting our differences
Can make us stronger.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Welcome back, everybody, to Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV. Now, you heard us talk about the West region. Gavin kind of gave his analyst picks. Now, we're going to go down south and send it over to Cooper and see what he had cooking down there in the south. Hopefully it's something good. Cooper, take it away, my friend.
All right, yes, I'm here picking the South region for y'all. In the first game, we have Arizona, and they're either going to play Wright State or Bryant. Really, honestly, Arizona's going to easily win that game, and they're going to move on. And Seton Hall TCU, the 8 and 9 matchup, everyone's kind of wondering, okay, who do I pick in this situation? You know, could be TCU, could be Seton Hall. I obviously got TCU. I feel like they're a better team playing the Big 12. Just something got to think about. Then Houston UAB. Now, I was tempted to pick the Blazers, but wasn't really feeling it. Houston, they had a good run last year, making it to the Final Four. So I got Houston going on again. Then Illinois for taking on Chattanooga. I mean, Illinois, they're good. They're better than that team anyway. And then Colorado State versus Michigan. Now, some are saying Michigan kind of snuck in, you know. Juwan Howard could have thrown a punch to get in, if you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like the big punch is going to come through for Michigan, and they're going to go on to the next round. Then Tennessee versus Longwood. Tennessee, they have been great all year. They're the dominant team. They're going to easily win by 30+. Then Ohio State taking on Sister Jean and Loyola Chicago. Everybody knows Loyola Chicago and Sister Jean, and I got them moving on in the upset over the Ohio State. Sorry, Ohio State, you lost to Oral Roberts last year. Well, get it. You're going to lose again in the first round. And then we go on to Villanova and Delaware. Delaware is not going to win, plain and simple. All right. So Arizona, TCU. Arizona, they're a high-scoring Pac-12 team. They average about 80 points per game. So I feel like they're just going to outscore TCU in the end. And then Houston, Illinois, in my opinion, Houston is overrated, so Illinois is going to come away with that. Michigan, Tennessee, Juwan Howard's going to finally get hit with the left hook, and Tennessee's going to win that one. Loyola Chicago and Villanova, give me Sister Jean once again. She's moving on. She's going to get the boys back to the Final Four. And so Arizona, Illinois, I feel like Pac-12, they don't get enough love, and I'm not going to give them any more love. Illinois, they're going to the next round. And then Tennessee, Loyola Chicago, the run-ins, the Cinderella ends there, and I got Tennessee. And so then we go on to Illinois and Tennessee, and that's when Tennessee, they have been a great SEC team all year. They're coming off an SEC championship, and so we're going to really have Tennessee going all the way once we get there.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you had some good points and you had some bad points there. I mean, I don't know, Juwan Howard's been hitting the boxing gym lately, but he's going to need some beefing up muscles for this fight in the tournament. Guys, thoughts, comments? How are you feeling about those picks?
So I want to start off with Tennessee. I do agree. Tennessee is a great SEC team. When they played Kentucky, I was like, yeah, that's a Final Four team. And then you said UAB and Houston. You said Houston, and you said Houston's overrated, so why not go with UAB, you know? So
they're overrated, but they're not that overrated.
They're not that, okay.
Yeah.
But it's a 5-12, you know?
It could happen.
It could happen. And then Chattanooga, I can't believe Illinois. I am an Illinois hater. I feel like they're very overrated. They were overrated last year, and look what happened. They got exited first round. Chattanooga just hit a game winner from the half-court line. They're ready to go. I feel like they're going to take that fire from their last game and most definitely surprise everybody against Illinois.
Yeah, I mean, you made a hot take there, and I'm not sure a lot of people agree with you. But Gavin, I mean, what about you? You got anything hot over there cooking up?
It's not necessarily a hot take, but it might be one of the more hated takes in America. But I think Loyola Chicago's luck in the NCAA tournament, especially in the first round, is going to run out this year. I really love Sister Jean. Everyone loves the Ramblers. But I just see them getting past Ohio State. But I think Villanova's going to get them. I don't think they don't have Cameron Kirtwig this year, the big center who did so much for them in the tournament last year. And I don't think they're going to have the size to run with top-seeded teams like Villanova. And I think that's when their luck's going to run out. It's in the round of 32.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, Loyola Chicago, they got it. Their luck has to end sooner or later, but I was just really thinking about it, and it's Loyola Chicago. Come on, you had to pick them. They're a team you have to pick.
You have to. I mean, they're a fun team to watch. Playing for the Missouri Valley League. It's just, I like Loyola, but you can take that Ohio State apology in your back pocket because they don't need it. They don't need a sorry. I mean, they screwed everybody's brackets last year. So, I like your picks, but Arizona. Why Arizona? Why aren't they going to go to the Final Four? I want to know why.
I just feel like Pac-12, they have good teams, but when you look at the Big Ten, it's a fight every week there. In the Pac-12, you can really, get some easy wins. You have some easy off games. In the Big Ten, you have Rutgers coming out of nowhere and upsetting 5 teams in 5 different games. So it's just one of those Big Ten, better competition, and I feel like Arizona, their scoring's going to slow down sooner or later.
Okay. Yeah, guys, but you got to look at it this way, okay? Loyola, yes, they got Sister Jean. They got a lot of luck on their side, but let me tell you something. Sister Jean, you ain't no match for them Rocky Top down there in Knoxville.
Exactly.
So for that reason, Tennessee's they're going to move on. Now, Cooper, I agree with a lot of your picks, but the one pick I don't necessarily agree with is Michigan over Colorado State. Now, I don't know if you know a lot about fighting, but a ram is stronger than a human. So for that reason, Colorado State, they're just going to move on. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not going to see a reunited of the big game in the NCAA tournament this year. We're going to see simply Tennessee and Colorado State move on. Tennessee's going to face Sister Jean, and then it's just going to be one of those things where it's anybody's ball game over there at Tennessee. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't like Tennessee because of
I don't
a lot
like
of
them personally, but they're too good not to pick.
Yeah, but they're too good not to pick.
Yeah.
So for that reason, out of Illinois and Tennessee's going to end up winning it, and then Tennessee's going to end up moving on to play the winner of the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and because Tennessee, watching them all year, they're just a great team and all. But that's why I ultimately have them coming out of this bracket. This bracket, it's one of the easier sides, in my opinion.
I think it's one of the more easier sides too. But the Midwest, I think, is whenever I go up there. But I think the Midwest is probably the easiest route for for Kansas, I feel like. But the South region is very, very interesting because this is like the one side of the bracket where I have the most upsets. I have UAB beating Houston. I have Chattanooga beating the Illini. So yeah, it's pretty interesting on that side.
Easton, I hate to cut you off, but you're going to get to the Midwest next when we have to come back from this. But guys, if you want to play against us and put your picks out there, go to ESPN.com for the pick'em. Search up Red Wolf Roundtable, and then you'll have a chance to face me, Gavin, Easton, and Cooper. But for that, guys, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Easton's going to break down the Midwest. We'll be right back. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable on ASU-TV.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
Watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an
to
effort.
get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
Actor.
it's time we take a step forward
it's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
and discover
How accepting our differences
Can make us stronger.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
And welcome back to Red Wolf Roundtable. We now go into the Midwest side of the bracket where you're going to have a ton of good games. You have Kansas as the 1 seed, Auburn as the 2 seeds, 2 high-quality teams right there. And now we're going to go away and give it to old Easton there. Easton, take it away.
Yeah, this is the most fitting side for me, being from the Midwest. This is one of the better ones. So we're gonna first start off with the Kansas and Texas Southern or Texas A&M CC. Yeah, Kansas. So moving on, Creighton and San Diego State. Creighton plays with a little bit more of a high intensity, more of a rebounding team. I gotta go with Creighton over San Diego State. I like the San Diego States, but I like Creighton more. But so now Iowa and Richmond. Iowa, the Big Ten champions. They really impressed me, really surprised me about their run and just an all-around talented basketball team. So I'm gonna go with the Hawkeyes. And then we got Providence versus San Diego State. San Diego State is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NCAA, but I love Providence. Providence is a great basketball team. I can't believe they were ranked where they were at the end of the year. So I'm going to continue with the Providence, chain. So I'm going to go with Providence, and then LSU versus Iowa State. LSU really surprised me this year because being part of the SEC. And their games against, Arkansas, where they just play lights out. They have all the fight till the last second of the game. LSU is a very talented team. Their record really doesn't show what their talent proves to be, so I think I'm going to go with LSU. And then Wisconsin versus Colgate. Colgate is not just a toothpaste brand. They are going to beat Wisconsin, the Badgers. I've been watching Wisconsin's games over the past few months, and they played Penn State and beat them by 2. They lost to Rutgers back in February, and it seems like all their games are a little bit too close. So I think, and Colgate gave Arkansas a little run for their money last year. So I'm going to go with an upset Colgate. And then, so now we go to USC and Miami. USC, this is going to be a tall matchup. They might have to change out the rims but in between games. So I'm going to go with USC and then Auburn versus Jacksonville State. Auburn is, a little risky, but I'm going to go with Auburn. And then moving down here, let me kind of move around. So I have USC beating Auburn. Why? Because USC is very tall, like I mentioned. Auburn has been playing just 50-50 a little bit in the SEC, so that's why I have USC winning. And then obviously LSU is going to beat Colgate. I think, like I said, LSU is, just a better performing team. And then I have Iowa beating Providence, and then we go up to Kansas versus Iowa. Iowa is a very, very talented team, but Kansas plays with high intensity all the time. And they got Ochai Agbaji. I actually watched this guy play in high school. He was 10 minutes down the road from me. So I watched this guy in high school. He's very talented, as well as Christopher Brown too. So I have them going against USC in the championship from the Midwest, and I have Kansas winning in the Midwest.
I mean, it looks good. But one thing I have to stop you at.
Yeah, what's up?
Colgate is only good for brushing your teeth.
I know.
They're not a sports team. So Wisconsin's going to get past the toothpaste there.
Yeah.
And I like USC, but really, Auburn, they've been a great team all year. That's why I have them going much farther than you do. I just feel like that loss in the SEC tournament really kind of woke them up.
Now, Easton, let me ask you a question. Let me rephrase what you had said. So you had said that LSU played lights out against Arkansas this year, correct?
Yeah, they lost, but
they went 0-3 against Arkansas the whole year. It pains me to say it, but they went 0-3 against Arkansas the whole year. That is the most blasphemous thing I've ever heard someone saying that they played lights out but still going 0-3. Now, don't get me wrong, Arkansas, they were one of the top tier teams in the SEC this year, but you got to look at it this way. LSU, well, yes, they're going to beat Iowa State. This is just what I'm picking. Wisconsin, you need more than this Colgate to get cheese out of your teeth. So you got to push them on. But you see, I just don't see the Fighting Tigers down there in Louisiana beating Wisconsin. So it's just one of those things that you got to see. Auburn, they were electrifying in the SEC all year. Then you go up to the top, Kansas and Providence. Providence, I got them upset in Iowa. I don't know why. I just got a feeling that's going to be one of them upset games in your region. But you go on to Kansas. I know you're a Kansas boy, so you like that rock chalk Jayhawk.
Oh, no, my friend. No, that's the total opposite. I like Kansas's team is very well balanced. Their offense is just ranked so high. So I have to take them, even though I'm a Mizzou fan. I am taking Kansas to win the Midwest. But the other thing about Kansas, Christopher Brown is just an absolute lights-out shooter. Does not miss from the three-point line. And then Agbaji, of course, just is like a freight train coming down the lane. So, yeah, that's why I got Kansas winning the Midwest.
There is one team that you guys have not mentioned at all that I have making the Sweet 16, and that is the Richmond Spiders. And I watched them play in the A10 championship. They went into their conference tournament as a 6th seed in what is a mediocre conference, and they caught fire at the right time. They're the hottest team in this bracket, and I have them upsetting Iowa and Providence back-to-back. Every tournament has a Cinderella story. Almost every tournament has one of those 5-12 upsets you always hear about, and I think the Richmond Spiders are this year's Cinderella.
You really think so?
I really do.
Because, did you not see what Iowa did in the Big Ten?
They won.
We all saw.
They won.
We saw what Iowa did. I mean, they're one of the more balanced teams in the Midwest. I would say they are second to the more well-balanced teams. And the way they played against Purdue was just, you can't script it, you know? So that's why I was a great all-around basketball team, and I don't see them being.
What happened to the Big Ten champions last year? That was Ohio State, correct?
Ohio State
was the Big Ten champion last year, correct?
Correct.
What happened to them?
True, but Ohio State is Ohio State. This is Iowa, but you can't really compare those two teams together. But I know they were both I feel like they were well-rounded, but I just think Iowa, being the Big Ten champions, seeing what they did against Michigan State, and then Purdue in the Big Ten, I have to take them.
Okay, so hold up. One thing none of y'all have mentioned yet, LSU doesn't have a head coach. Why are we going to pick them to go all the way without a head coach?
They got a lot of fire in them.
Because the general still will lead his team even if he's not there anymore.
NCAA, well, if they want to do what old Coach Wade did, they can start paying their way through that couple rounds. I guess it is legal now.
But I mean, Gavin, I just want to go back to what you were saying about the Richmond Spiders. And you know how you get rid of a spider? You squash it like the bug it is. And that's why the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to squash the Richmond Spiders and make Richmond the most irrelevant team in the bracket, just like they are right now.
I'll give you this. It's a 5-12. 5-12 seeds are always the upset games. So if Richmond does beat Iowa, I'll give you a round of applause. But I just see Iowa as just they play quick and they get boards all the time, and yeah.
We can all agree on the one thing, that Kansas is going to be the one making it out of this region.
Yeah, Kansas
I can agree with that.
Has the
Kansas
easiest
might
route.
have the easiest road to the Final Four in the tournament.
And if they don't make it, I will be sad that my bracket's messed up, but I will also be happy.
I guess I'm the only one because I have Auburn making it out of there. Yeah, and I have Iowa beating Kansas as well. Iowa, they're a really good team, and I feel like Kansas, they always choke when it comes big time.
They do.
They always choke. I mean, last time I can remember them actually being good in March Madness was when you had Mario Chalmers on that team.
They played Memphis in the national championship, and Mario Chalmers hit a buzzer beater to send it to overtime, and they ended up winning that game in overtime.
Beating D Rose.
Mm-hmm. That's when Kansas City was. That was when it was livid. But also, so what do you see? I don't understand what you see in Auburn, because you've seen them through the SEC and playing these close games. But yeah, I just want to know what you see to get to Auburn.
I mean, they have that big old guy down in the paint. He was great all year. His name, my mind's gone blank on him, but he's been really well. So that's all we have now for that region. We now we're not going to break. You got to go to ESPNPick'em.com. Join Red Wolf Roundtable group, and you have a chance to compete against all four of us, and you can use our thoughts about it to your picking. But if not, oh well. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Every day.
Millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an effort
to get to know each other
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Welcome back to ASU-TV. Here, you're watching Red Wolf Roundtable, and we now go to the East region of the bracket. You have Baylor as the 1 seed. You also have Kentucky. It's going to be a really good bracket. Now, Tristan, take it away. Give us your picks and thoughts on the East region.
Yeah, guys, thanks, Cooper. So, you really look at the East region, and you got to understand this. The defending national champions are in this region. You got Baylor up here playing Norfolk State. That's going to be an easy win. That's not going to be too much of a hassle. Then you go down to North Carolina and Marquette. And that's a game that I was kind of torn on when I was thinking about who I wanted to win this game, the 8-9 seeds. So just let me read off some numbers here with the point spread. North Carolina, they're projected to win by 3, and Marquette, they're projected to lose by 3. But you got to look at it this way: when you go up with the 8 and 9 seeds, there's a lot of different things. Both seeds, they go neck and neck every year, and that's one of the things that with the win by 3-point margin, it's anybody's ball game. So for that one, I'm going to have to take North Carolina for a storyline that I'm going to get to later. Then you go down to the next game, and you got St. Mary's taking on the winner of Wyoming and Indiana. Right there, I don't really see it mattering if Wyoming or Indiana wins, so I'm going to go ahead and take them St. Mary's. Then you got UCLA taking on Akron. Akron and UCLA, that's not really a big matchup that you need to worry about right now. So at UCLA, they're going to take that by a landslide. And then Texas Longhorns versus the Virginia Tech Hokies. You got to look at it this way. Virginia Tech, they're 23-12. Texas, they're 21-11. One's representing the Big 12, one's representing the ACC. Notable games for Texas is they beat Tennessee and they beat Kansas. Virginia Tech, they beat both North Carolina and Duke on the road. And it's one of those things where you got to think, who's going to win? And for that one, I'm saying horns down. Give me the Virginia Tech Hokies because they're going on to the next round. You see at the bottom of your screen, Purdue and Yale. It's Yale. There haven't been a thing since the late 1900s, so go ahead and give me Purdue. Murray State, San Francisco. Now, this is a game I want to talk about real quick. Murray State right now is my Cinderella story. They're on a complete tear in their conference. They're arguably one of the better teams that's not a big-time team like a Baylor or a Kansas. So for that reason, Murray State, they're going to go on to beat San Francisco. Then you got Kentucky and St. Peter's. Come on now, it's child's play at this point. Give me Kentucky. So then you go on to the rest of it, and you got to think, okay, I got Baylor, North Carolina playing the next round. Baylor, national champions last year, they looking to do it again, but unfortunately, North Carolina, they're going to keep on their tear, and they're going to end up winning. Then you just got to keep on going down the stretch. And it's going to be one of those things that North Carolina is going to be a Cinderella story in itself, but then you got St. Mary's, and they're taking on UCLA. UCLA, come on now, that's some Bruins. You can't bet against the Bruins in a March Madness tournament. Now, Virginia Tech and Purdue. Now, Gavin, I know we've been talking a little bit this week about this Purdue team, and this is a team that you really like. But unfortunately, I don't see them making them past this round against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, they've got a lot to prove. Now, my upset of this bracket, arguably, if you take out the Virginia Tech and Purdue, I got Murray State beating Kentucky. Now, my reason for this is here. Kentucky, they struggled in SEC play against a couple big-time teams, and that reason is going to come back to bite them. And Murray State is going to end up coming back, and they're going to feast on Kentucky's mistakes, and they're going to be able to make it to the next round. North Carolina against UCLA, that's another thing. North Carolina, they're on their tear. They're trying to make sure that Duke does not win the Natty. They're trying to send Coach K. They're trying to send Coach K home set. And it's one of those things that you got to understand that this rivalry is more than the March Madness tournament. This is about bigger picture, and that's why North Carolina is going to go on to face Murray State, who's going to beat Virginia Tech. But unfortunately, and I mean unfortunately, Murray State is going to be the team that escapes this region for the sole fact that North Carolina is going to get too cocky, trying to face Duke, trying to beat Duke, trying to knock Duke out. And Murray State, that's the team that's going to escape this region. Guys, I don't know about you, but I'm excited to see what Murray State does in the East region.
All right, so you do realize a guy named Michael Jordan's not on North Carolina, as well as Ja Morant's not on Murray State anymore.
That's what I was about to say.
But besides that, no, Kentucky, too talented. They get the one-and-dones every year. They're going to be too much for Murray State. And I like Virginia Tech. I'm going to have them as well beating Purdue because, you know why? Texas sucks. They always do, horns down. And then UCLA, I have them coming out with Johnny Juzang. He caught fire last year, went on the Cinderella run as the 11th seed to the Final Four and got beat by Gonzaga. And I feel like UCLA, they're going to be back.
Yeah, Cooper, I mean, you're right, but you're wrong at the same time. I mean, yeah, you made the Michael Jordan, the Ja Morant reference, but another thing is that you got to understand the drive, the power. They stay hungry and they will devour because Murray State, they're going to escape, and they're going to be that team that is going to be one of those things that you're not going to see coming because they are coming and they're not backing down.
All right, Mr. Rock. Gavin, do you have anything?
I really see the Purdue Boilermakers coming out of this regional going into the Final Four. I think that Baylor is going to make a really good run at it deep into the tournament. I'm also one of the people that is very high on Murray State. I think they're going to run through Kentucky, but I think just the fact that they're going to come off that momentum and beating Kentucky, they're going to be too worn out when they play Purdue. Purdue has amazing offense, solid defense, has ran through a gauntlet in the Big Ten all year, and I think they're just going to keep the wheels turning. They have speed and size, especially size. 7'4", Zach Edey. I don't think any of these teams are going to have an answer for him in the post.
No, I actually see Murray State making. I could see Murray State making a run. I see their path. They can totally beat Kentucky. Because what Kentucky did against Tennessee was not them. It was not them. So I can most definitely see Murray State beating Kentucky, but I gotta go with the Wildcats. They're just a little bit too talented. But I respect the pick, and if Murray State does go to the Final Four, you'll be seeing me giving you a firm handshake. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I respect your pick too, Easton. But you know what? You're way up here, my friend. I'm gonna need you to back down to here because the sole purpose
Says the guy with the 8 and 7 seed.
Hey, listen here, bucko. Because listen, Murray State is going to be this team that is going to be the upset team of this March Madness bracket. Nobody's going to see them coming. They've won 30 games, and you know what? When they end up going on this tear and feasting on every mistake that Kentucky gives them, I'm going to look at all three of you and say, hey, I told you so, but I appreciate the sportsmanship, and I'm going to shake each one of your hands and tell you that, hey, don't bet against the wise guy because you know what? Murray State, they're going to be the dark horse in this tournament whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I agree with the Baylor North Carolina pick. Baylor is missing out on a few key players there. And North Carolina has very good height against Baylor. So I know Baylor's been, they work towards, they've looked good without him, but against North Carolina, with all that height, I just feel like I agree with you a little bit on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that boils down to that right now, North Carolina, they're trying to play spoiler. They're trying to make it out so they could probably upset Duke in the Final Four. But it boils down to this, and this is kind of the thing that I want to get the point across, is that these teams in the East, this is the region that's going to have the upsets. It's going to have the teams win that shouldn't have had the teams win. I know we talked about Sister Jean in the other region, but look at this. You just got to look at the bracket, because you got Baylor and Norfolk State. We know Norfolk State's not going to beat Baylor. Baylor's trying to repeat. They're trying to win the championship again. St. Mary's, that's kind of an obvious win. But you got to look at the two games that I was talking about: North Carolina Marquette, Texas Virginia Tech. Marquette, North Carolina, 8-9 seeds, they're known for being the closer matchups in the region. But you got to look at Texas, Virginia Tech. You got to understand that Texas, they're not going to be able to do it. The Hokies, they're going to win, horns down. But you know what, guys? I don't know. The East region is going to be the region to watch for sure.
Oh, and it is, but that's all we have for this segment. Make sure to make your selection at espn.com/pick'em. Join the group Red Wolf Roundtable, create your bracket, and compete against us. But that's all we have for right now. You're watching Red Wolf Roundtable here on ASU-TV.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Every day,
Millions of people are connecting
and even though we're overcoming obstacles,
Watching each other's backs,
and banding together.
we should still make an effort.
We should still make an
to
effort.
get to know each other,
on a deeper level.
Father,
cosplayer,
Mentor.
Actor.
it's time we take a step forward
it's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
How accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
This is where it all began. The careers of governors and mayors, business leaders and thinkers, doctors and researchers, artists and teachers, champions and victors. This is who shaped their futures, no matter where they were. This is where it started. This is where success ignited. This is where they were A-State made.
Welcome back, everybody, to Red Wolf Roundtable on ASU-TV. And guys, we talked about our regional picks. We talked about who we thought was going to escape and go to the Final Four. But now let's actually dive into our Final Four. Gavin, let's go ahead and give it to you first. How do you think the Final Four is going to fare out according to your picks?
I think the Final Four is going to look just like this up here on the screen. They're about to show you my picks, and it's Texas Tech and Purdue coming out of the left side of the bracket. And I think Purdue is going to win that game. Jaden Ivey been playing guard all year. He has been a phenomenal scorer, and I just don't think Texas Tech has the size to compete with Zach Edey in the center and the post. And I think Purdue is going to come out with a win in that game. But I think it's going to be not a traditionally fun game to watch. I think it's going to be really low scoring, and it's going to be a real grinded out kind of game. And then the other side of the bracket, Tennessee and Kansas, is going to be the exact opposite. It's going to be a high-scoring, electrifying ball game where I have Kansas coming out on top to face the Purdue Boilermakers in the finals, and I have the Kansas Jayhawks winning the national championship. A 1 seed, I know, it's kind of lame predicting a 1 seed to win the whole thing, but they're the only team in this tournament, except for maybe Murray State, that hasn't played bad all year. Kansas hasn't had any low points like the other three teams in my Final Four. They've been consistent, and even when they lose, they rebounded the very next game and got back going and just keep winning. They're a well-oiled machine in college basketball.
Now, Cooper, what about you? What do you think about the Final Four and your championship? What do you got going on over there?
Well, my Final Four prediction, we go for the West and East. You have Duke taking on UCLA. You're going to have Johnny Juzang leading them back to the Final Four and hopefully get their redemption. You don't know that. But next, you have two teams that know each other, Tennessee and Auburn. In my opinion, Tennessee deserves the 2 seed and Auburn deserves the 3 seed. That doesn't really matter that much. But I do, as much as I don't like Tennessee, I have Tennessee winning, and then I have Coach K and Duke beating UCLA. And now Duke, tradition, they have all the traditions. Tennessee, the only thing they're known for is playing Rocky Top every 5 seconds. And so as much as I hate Tennessee, I'm going to have them hearts get broken, and Duke's going to come on top. Coach K is going to cut the nets down one last time, and it'll be just like a book ride.
Now, Easton, what about you, my friend? You know, we heard Gavin, we heard Cooper. Now, what about you? What do you think you got going on over there in that bracket?
So coming out of the South and Midwest, I have Tennessee versus Kansas. I think Abaji is just, like I said, a freight train when he's coming down the lane, and he can shoot a little bit too. Tennessee, they have the shooters, but I think Kansas has more of a rougher team. You know, they're gonna, back you into the post, shimmy shake, and then little right, Kareem Hunt. Well, not Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt?
Not
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right hook?
Right hook, yeah.
Right. That's the correct term to use if you're talking about Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
He's more of a kicker.
Yeah, and then so out of the West and East, I have Gonzaga and UCLA. Gonzaga is the bigger name, like always. I know it's kind of lame, but I think Gonzaga has been itching to get to that national championship and win the national championship. But they're going to face Kansas, and all that's just going to come to shambles. So I got Kansas winning this year.
Now, Easton, let me ask you this real quick before I give everybody my picks. How does it feel to be the only one on this table that does not have Duke in your Final Four?
I like the Cinderella story about Coach K, but, my boy Timmy, I love watching him play. His mustache is going to, mop the floor off the tears of Coach K. So I think I got to give it to Gonzaga. It's lame, but I kind of like Gonzaga and Timmy, so yeah.
Now let's take a look at the actual Final Four that's going to happen this year. You're going to have them Duke Blue Devils take on Murray State in the one side, and you got Tennessee and Kansas facing on the other side. Like Cooper said, all Tennessee's known for is playing Rocky Top every 5 seconds and giving out free McDonald's bags. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And in these two games, of course, unfortunately, we're going to see the Murray State hype train in here. Coach K is going to move on to the championship game. And then on the other side, Kansas, they're going to be too much for Tennessee. And it's going to be one of those things where Kansas and Duke are going to have another classic battle for who's going to be better, number 1 or number 2. And unfortunately, in the Big Easy, New Orleans, Louisiana, on April 4th in the national championship game, the Duke Blue Devils will win the national championship. Coach K will be on the shoulders of his team. Tears will be going everywhere. Confetti will be going everywhere. Champagne will be going everywhere. And it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be too good to be true, and the storybook ending will come to the full fruition, and Duke will win.
I mean, I love the prediction because I have Duke winning it all as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not for Cinderella stories. I've not really, but I've trusted Duke so many times in my bracket, but it just it gets turned down every single year. So that's why I have them losing to Gonzaga. I like it'd be a cool story. It'd be like a movie basically if he won it. But I don't know. I can't trust Duke this year. Because of the past games too. Like they played against Virginia Tech. Miami. They weren't in it, and then they just caught a little bit of fire and pulled them ahead.
Yeah, guys, but if anybody out there wants to take another shot at the pick'em, you go to ESPN.com, search up Red Wolf Roundtable, and do your own picks. But guys, real quick before we close, I want to thank our 2 very special guests for joining us, Gavin, Easton. I hope you guys enjoyed being on the show. Maybe you come back sometime in the future. Oh, yeah. But guys, that's going to just about do it for us here at Red Wolf Roundtable for today's March Madness special. We hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll see you guys next time.